So, what role are you applying for?
I'm applying for the writer role.
Okay, awesome. And then, so tell me a bit about yourself.
So I just graduated in audio production and sound design. Great time to graduate.
Congratulations. Yeah, a little rough though.
But yeah. So actually, a lot of my experiences in audio editing and mostly for TV and film. I think the more I do it down the line, I'm more interested in dialogue editing specifically and dialogue development. So I guess it's a little weird that I'm applying for the writer role, but I personally just like to write. Like I write every day on the side, like creative fiction and whatever. I hope to like one day write comics and have a audio portion to the side, like kind of change it up from what I've normally seen, like on webtoons or like manga I've ever read. Um, but as far as video games go, I've always been playing video games my whole life. Um, like as an audio production major, I took so many classes on like video games and form. I took every class available that could be on video game, like media and form. Not on the production itself, which was kind of sad for me, but more like how video games pull from society and how narrative is written. So um, yeah,
Okay.
my final report was all about how like certain storytelling and narrative functions can only work in video game mediums. So I
Whoa,
enjoyed
that's
that.
really awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time. I might post it somewhere.
Yeah, it really should. That sounds like a great read. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, so it sounds like you're lining up perfectly with everything we want out of writers. So you're like, I'm into dialogue. I'm like, well, if you think about how quests work, that's really also what we're thinking about for like just the base task for writers, like doing
Mm.
quests and then also doing a item flavor text. And then outside of that, you also said you're really into webtoons, and we definitely want to start like a webtoon strategy soon.
Yeah.
So be looking into that, yeah.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
then, so tell me a bit about your creative process.
So a lot of my obviously it's all always character centric, and the base thing about a character is that when I think about character developing, I think about being able to describe them in very few words, but are very but the imagery really stands out. So like well, for the creative bout, I hope no one steals this if they watch this. But one of my characters is this moth who, this cute little moth guy who is a lamp lighter and nervously eats their sweater all the time. So that's like an immediate image that like you can think of. And then like, and another idea for the creative bout was an orchid mantis who is an herbalist and tells really bad jokes because they always reference really obscure plants that no one knows about. so, so that's where how I really start with character writing. And I guess as far as their personality goes, I kind of write with how like the ideology and the personality are in the doing. So very Zizekian. So what they do reflects their personality. So like um, sometimes it's not always typical like what an herbalist, I guess, or like this lamplighter person eating their like sweater nervously. Um, be always like this nervous kind of character. I kind of wrote it where they're like 100% nervous all the time, but like they're just like a disaster in themselves, but except during actual disasters and like during an actual apocalypse you would want to be with them all the time because they could help you out. So I kind of like to flip certain tropes that can follow personalities, and then I go from there, and then usually that's where the story takes off. So always character centric.
Okay, awesome. And then, so what's your main tip for like making a character but using as few words as possible?
Using as few words as possible. Let's see. So my tip for that would just you I would grab like an image in my head. Um, uh, and then you want to break that down into something like that sounds cool to you. So like the mantis, I had the image of the mantis first, and
Mm-hmm.
then um, I was just like trying to pull words that sounded cool to like center around it. So like what would be cool with a mantis who, is an orchid mantis who looks like a flower. So what can you relate to that? And you just go off of it's like a lot of word association. Like I work at a garden
Mm-hmm.
center, so that's probably where it comes from. But it's also good to pull from knowledge of hobbies that you already have, like, um, and especially knowledge that you think you wouldn't necessarily be able to talk to people about unless you're like, oh wow, I actually know a lot about the subject. Like, um, like I guess, well, since we're talking about plants, like I work in audio all the time, and I just sit on my butt looking at screens all day.
I know that feeling.
Oh yeah, for sure, so unhealthy. but but you take from a lot of what you've observed from outside of what you think you're really a part of every day. So um, I've always had a fascination with plants, and you take up the hobbies that you don't really feel like you should be concerned with, but they end up being a really good tool for yourself, whatever. And you have a lot of knowledge a lot of times that most people often don't know about. So,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
And then so how are you liking the character creative belt so far?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I like the prompts that you gave us are really helpful.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so there's like a lot of stuff on there that I never really would have thought about. Like you have, um, like with the appearance. I think you broke it down. Let me look at it again. If I find it. But there's a part with the appearance that are like where it says like that really identifies them. Um,
Okay, yeah.
I forget what it's called. What do we call it? Pull it up. Please load.
Okay. Yeah, no, so basically what we did with the writing track was we took
Mm-hmm.
like our how we come up with characters in general and then just
Mm-hmm.
added all those values into a template.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like identifying features. Like I
Yep.
guess that like kind of ties in with the idea of being able to break down your character into very few words, and then the nuance comes after that. Um, so I think that's a really. It's always good to have a clear image of your character before you can really start writing down little things like that. I guess make them memorable in that way. So that's how I
Okay.
usually write it.
Okay, awesome. And then so as a whole, what do you think about the Monochrome RPG?
I like it a lot. It's very. I've never played Cuphead, but I've always liked the aesthetic. Um, that weird like bounciness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, I think Otto as character, I don't know. I guess I just relate to the like nervousness and stuff he has around him. And writing the dialogue for him is always like really cute. It's never like I get like it's like funny with the puns being all cringy and stuff, but like something about the way it's handled and like the weight to it with Otto just like makes you like, yeah, you cringe, but you like kind of keep reading even
It
after
was
that.
great. As we were writing it, we were like, no, what are we typing?
I don't know. You just have to embrace how cringy it is, and I'm just like,
Exactly. We were like, if we keep typing, we just go more with the typing. People will get it. They'll be like, oh, they're going so in.
yeah. I was like writing puns for my orchid mantis herbalist. I'm like, this is so bad, but I just
Exactly.
kept going. I have like 2 pages worth of it. I'm like, this is
That's
so
amazing.
bad.
And then okay, so what do you think about the Monochrome workshop?
it took me a while to like feel comfortable on it. Like I'm like on Discord a lot,
Mhm.
but I'm like a big lurker on any social media. So, um, but so far, a lot of my answers and like thoughts have been answered by a lot of the people on there. But it's just really nice to see everyone kind of had the same mindset or come up with new ideas and everything. Everyone's
Okay.
really responsive too.
Okay,
Uh,
awesome. And then so
yeah.
like as a lurker, because that's an interesting viewpoint. I don't know if I've talked to a lurker yet. So as a
Oh yeah.
lurker, how you feel about like the vibe of the community?
It's good. Like everyone's really like everyone's a big memer.
Yeah, right.
Huge memes everywhere. But I enjoyed that. I think as a lurker, you can very much enjoy that even more. I think. Um, I think first going into it, I wondered how casual or not casual everything would be on like the Discord and everyone
Hmm.
talking to each other. But I think it's like hitting the right balance between I'm a complete memer to like being professional.
Hmm.
um, and we definitely see that in the Q&A. So everyone always has really good questions and stuff. Um, so yeah.
And then awesome. So you like the Q&A sessions too?
Yeah, I've attended every one so far.
Awesome.
And the watch parties, yeah.
That's great. The one tonight.
Yes.
And then okay, so it seems like you've been answering a lot of the questions just like as you've been talking. So
Oh,
I'm
good. Sorry.
like,
I'm like been like I go to work, but I don't talk to anyone, so I'm a real chatterbox. But I haven't talked to anyone, so I'll just let out all the energy, and then I'll hide in the corner again.
That's great. And then okay, so like yeah, so once you get into like the official workshop Discord server, you'll see that like that's like the true to form professional community where we mainly talk about work and references with the occasional meme. And then outside of that, so right now interview basically over. So then in like a week or two, you should be receiving an email that will invite you into the official workshop server. And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, you'll be onboarded as a writer. And then we'll probably give you like a very light writing test. Haven't formally come up with what that is yet, but it'll probably be something like a 250 word, just short kind of prose. And then
Oh.
outside of that, once you do that, you'll be contracted. And then again, the two main tasks for writers right now, we're planning for it to be like somewhere between $1 to $25 for who knows how many like item flavor text. And then like
Okay.
something around like $25 to $50 for like the entire quest like text. So walk up to the quest giver and then he's like, hey, I need help. And he's like, this is the help I need. Go do that. And then if you try to talk to him again, he's like, you haven't done it yet, but okay, you're talking to me. And then you come back with the stuff and he's like, okay, you got it. Awesome. Now I love you. And then you come back and talk to him after the quest. He's like, I still love you.
Thanks, my bro.
And then, so yeah, does that answer like your base questions about onboarding?
Yeah, that's pretty much um it. I feel like I didn't really like think that far as far as
Totally, no
onboarding
problem.
is
And then,
concerned.
so do you have any other questions?
um, let's see. Well, I guess it's more questions out of curiosity. I don't want to take up
Okay.
time. So like as far as like the Monochrome lobby and just your company overall, do you think
Yeah.
you'll always be working purely remotely with everyone, or do you ever think you'll like open up an office space and be real fancy like that?
Yeah. So we have like the Monochrome Workshop lobby, and then like the Monochrome Workshop, and then we have DVNC Tech LLC. So like DVNC does have formal offices on like the north part of Philadelphia, and then
Mm.
we are thinking about making it so that like we have a few extra desks, and then like people from the workshop, if they're in the Philly region, can come for like a day and work in the office. We think that'd be pretty cool. So we are
Mhm.
planning something like that for like after the pandemic. And then as far as like workshop members go, so like starting at the beginning actually, so there's a workshop lobby where that's like core pool of applicants, and then we pull from that through like the like creative bouts, and then also just through the interview process with the waitlist numbers. So
Mhm.
then you become a workshop member, and then once you're a workshop member, you're essentially going into again like a series of contracts. So then that's just direct, like, here's a task or a series of tasks, and here's the pay once you give us the task. And then if you show like a bit of leadership skills and you're active in the workshop, you can become, right now, I think we're calling them stagehands. Essentially, that's like more of a managerial role where you'll be helping us for like around 10 to 15 hours a week, and you get like a monthly retainer, so like a few $100s a month. And then you're helping with like core, like managing the other people in the workshop and also doing what you were doing before. And then that's like the level we're at right now. As we scale, because there are some good things happening in the background, but you'll hear about those hopefully soon. And then so as we scale, we'll be looking to probably hire people more formally part-time / full-time. But then that, not really, so to speak, thinking about that until maybe like a year or so from now, just assuming everything goes good.
Cool. That's awesome. Wait, so Philly? Well, I live in New Jersey. I just like take people from New Jersey, but I'm like South Central New Jersey, if you believe in the Central New Jersey. So,
yeah, was it like Camden's right across the river from Philly? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to live not that far from there, actually. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll ask one more question. That's okay.
Totally.
All right. So, I'm in audio, but I don't know much about game audio. I tried to work with Wise and Fmod, but for some reason, I just can't line up game events with sound for whatever reason, which is I feel like so basic, but but I know, like way before mentioned mentorships in like the future or whatever.
Yeah.
So I imagine in video game development, when it comes to sound, you don't really need a lot of audio people on that. But you think there would ever be like mentorships on game audio? Like,
yeah. So essentially how we're playing that out right now is that, so there are like a few people who like have formal internships with like their colleges, and then we sign like papers for them, and they're in the workshop and they're getting like college credit for that. Yeah. And then we are looking to do like non-college based internships. Haven't come up with like how that works formally yet. But what I can say is that, like, for example, the current art stagehands, they were before just doing like, art and animation, but then they showed so much potential with that. We're starting to get them into the game engine we're using, Unity. And then now they're learning how to implement level designs from the art that they're creating. So there's definitely room for growth. Like, again, once you become like a stagehand, we would probably have you implementing audio into the game directly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, yeah, if you need like mentorship or something like that, I would say message us separately, like on Discord, like I'm at Vince Q. And then I can look into that a bit more just from our investor standpoint, because also what we're doing separately for ourselves is we are looking for a pool of advisors. So we're going to be going onto like LinkedIn and then like stalking people and being like, well, who's a good game advisor? Who's a good music advisor? What about design?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Nice. And I think that's it. If I have any other questions, I'll just like bloopy blue in the later. So yeah.
All right, sounds good. And again, you should be getting that email like the next week or two, and I look forward to seeing you in the official workshop Discord server.
Nice, thank you.
All right, awesome. Have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, you too. Bye.